Hello, welcome everybody to the August Community Call. We're running a little bit late, but we're getting started now. As per usual, I'm going to run through some general NetBox Labs, NetBox community updates, and then we've got two fantastic speakers today. We'll get into those a little bit later on. So let's get started. Before we do that, I'm seeing a ton of chats. Okay, lots of people coming in. Tennessee, America, Finland, Toronto, Amsterdam, and me and friends. Tell us where you're from. Let's get started. So as per usual, we're going to focus on upcoming events, then some general NetBox news, and then, like I said, two speakers. So one event that's a little far out, it's in November, end of November, is AutoCon. So many of you will have been to AutoCon before, or at least heard about it. AutoCon started out a few years back. We work very closely with them, and it's rapidly becoming the network automation conference. Last time we were in Prague, I think, I want to say April or May, and this time it's going to be in Austin, Texas. So if you don't know about it, go check it out. It's really good, and it's growing very quickly, very high standard of content. We always like to show up and do lots of things. So we're going to be doing a workshop, if it gets accepted, which will be all about full loop network automation with NetBox and Diode and lots of other tools. The workshops are on the Monday and the Tuesday, and then the rest of the event is the Wednesday, the Thursday, and the Friday, but you can find all of the information on the AutoCon website. We've also got a little landing page up there that you can access through the QR code down at the bottom. Some of you will know that we normally do a social event called NetBox and Friends. We started this with a whole bunch of people, including Slurpit and NetPicker. Peter's here from those guys today, and I think Wim's also on the call, back in Denver, and then we did it again in Prague. It's just a bunch of people from the community that get together, have some drinks, and hang out. We're going to do that again in Austin, but we're going to add another one. We're also doing, for people like me who are too old to go to parties, we're going to do a breakfast, like a coffee thing, where everyone can come and meet us and have a coffee and a croissant on us. And then, you know, hopefully not look so bleary-eyed. One more thing to point out. If you're submitting a talk, the deadline is August 18th. I think that's next Monday. If it's about NetBox or related to NetBox and you want any feedback, we're happy to give you that, or like help you, you know, guide you on how to frame the presentation. Jaco did a fantastic presentation in Prague. So if we can help, just let us know, and we hope to see you at AutoCon 4. We will come back with more information about that closer to the date. Second thing I wanted to mention is NetBox training. So we haven't touched on this for a little while. I think typically a lot of people who show up to the community calls are pretty kind of NetBox fluent anyway, but we run two trainings. One is a regular NetBox basics training, which is online and it's free. Anyone can come along. And some of our staff, Rich Bibby and I think Chris Russell, who's here sometimes, take people through, you know, what are all the basics in NetBox. Even if you're already familiar with NetBox, you may have friends or colleagues who are not. And this is a great way to sort of get them started on their journey. Second is we also have like deeper dive trainings. These are paid. These aren't as regular. I think the NetBox basics trainings are monthly, but please correct me if I'm wrong, Chris. These hands-on NetBox ones are slightly less frequent. I can't remember exactly, but if you click on the QR code down at the bottom, these are led by Rick Donato of Packet Coders, and he goes into a lot more details. It's multiple hours, and you go through all sorts of stuff in NetBox. So if you're looking to improve your skills, or you know people who are, check out the QR code. Now, before I go too far, let me just check the comments. Okay, it's locations. Nice to see that we have such an international crowd. Moving on to NetBox news. So Richard Boucher, the product manager for NetBox and other things, is on well-deserved PTO this week and next. So I'm going to be taking this section. The main news is that NetBox 4.4 is just around the corner, and the next beta is coming up next week. Now, actually, I think the release is going to be made on Friday for you early birds who like to watch the GitHub, but we'll be putting out a blog post with more information and everything else in it next week. It includes a whole bunch of stuff. I would recommend going and looking at the release notes when it comes out on Friday, or the blog when it comes out the week after. But just to give you a quick overview, ton of work has gone into enhanced bulk operations. Job logging is now improved, and you can click on the individual tickets or go to those tickets on the GitHub if you need to. There's some improvements for platform and hardware management, and I'm not going to go into all of these, but it's basically just giving people slightly more granularity and control over how they describe those parts. So wait until Friday, go check out the release notes, or wait until next week in the blog when we're going to go into way more detail about all of this. Now, the beta will run from next week until the end of August, with the goal being to make the 4.4 GA release in the first week of September. We've been pretty good at sticking to that recently. I recently learned that I was calling it 4 monthly, but actually it's quadly. So we release quadly, August, December, and April. September, January, and May. Look forward to that. NetBox custom objects, some of you will be familiar with. This has been wildly popular, and I've been working very closely to this project. So a couple of updates here. One is we are going to release, so we're now in public preview, right? So the code is out there on GitHub. People have been trying it out and giving us a bunch of good feedback. We're going to do a second public preview release next Tuesday or Wednesday, which includes a whole bunch of improvements. The idea is to use that to get final checks on what's going to be the scope for GA. And we're going to move to GA in mid-September, right? So next week, a new version of custom objects that you can try out. We will also update the quick start guide and everything else so you can use it easily with NetBox Docker if I can figure that out. And then a couple of weeks of letting that sit and seeing what we learn. And then we're aiming for GA around mid-September. There are some things we're still ironing out, but I'm pretty excited about this second public preview release because it includes a ton of bug fixes, but also some like heavily desired features, like being able to put custom object types into the nav pane and other things like that. If this is the first time that you're hearing about NetBox custom objects, you can see there's a webinar link down there which explains more. And we've also put out a few blog posts. If you just search for NetBox Labs and custom objects, you'll find everything you need to get up to speed and get started. Okay. Check the chat. Belgium, Poland, Massachusetts, London, all over the place. Saskatchewan, I'm going to say that's how you say it. Moving along into our speakers. So like I said, we got two amazing speakers today. Jarkko presented at AutoCon in Prague. So I have a little idea of what this is about already. And you may have seen some of Jarkko's posts on LinkedIn explaining it. But without further ado, I'm going to hand it over. Jarkko, over to you.
Thank you. And hello, everyone. I'm going to show you my presentation. So can you see it?
Yes.
All right. So I'm going to introduce you a new plugin for NetBox. It has been out for a couple of months now. And the name is Ninja. So it's made for data visualization. And the idea behind Ninja is simple. You have a Ninja template. You can create those, write those on your own. They have access all data in NetBox, and you can produce whatever text-based output you want to. And the name Ninja comes from NetBox plus Jinja, so that's the name. But those text-based outputs could be things like config files for other systems to implement lightweight integrations between NetBox and some other systems. They can be diagrams as well. So currently we support Draw.io format, which means that if your template produces Draw.io XML, you will see it will be converted to SVG file, and you can see that in the NetBox UI. And all of these outputs are accessible through API as well, which makes it possible to do some advanced use cases. Such as in the right-hand bottom, you can see dashboard, which is actually Grafana dashboard, but it's not static one. It's fetching the diagram from the NetBox and reflecting telemetry on top of it. So a little bit background where this is coming from. So I'm a network engineer. That's my background. I have been drawing network diagrams for years, and I really want to see and understand how things work. I have been doing that manually, like thousands of hours, days, and I really like the outcome, but the amount of work it needs is big. So during the years, I have been exploring the fully automatic options which exists. There are tools which are drawing network diagrams, but so far I haven't been happy for any of those. Mainly because they use these fully automatic algorithms, which are good in a way that you can give them any topology and they will draw it. But as a network engineer, I want way more deterministic diagrams. I want to lay out things in a specific way. I want to have that control. So that's the background for Ninja. And for you to be able to understand, I'm going to give you a demo and show this in a real life. So let's jump into the NetBox. Under the plugins menu, we have the Ninja section and templates menu. So I have a bunch of templates, and there are a couple of features for templates. First of all, they can be bound to some NetBox object type, both native ones or the third-party data models as well. Which means, for example, this template, it's bound to device. It means that NetBox native device view has a Ninja tab, and the template is rendered by per device. If you don't bind to any object type, then it's just a single output, and I will show you in a minute. And then we have this output type field, and if you select the draw IO, you will get the diagram. So let's take a look to the first template. This is called backbone layer 3. So this is the template code. It is Jinja, and it's producing XML. And if we scroll down, this is the rendered output. And this was rendered as I opened this page. It's completely live. It's not only static diagram. You can also click these, let's say, host names and get to the device view. And same applies to interfaces, IP addresses, etc. It's just how I wrote the template. And if I get new routers, I will get the diagram will expand. Let's go back and see example of config file. So GNMIC is a telemetry collector client, and it needs to have the list of targets it subscribes streaming telemetry. So this small template, which is something like 5 rows, it's producing this output. Basically, it's looping through all the devices in the NetBox, checking if their role is backbone router and device status is active, and then it's including that to the list. So this means that whenever we get the new router, the GNMIC will fetch this list through the API and will subscribe a telemetry from that router. So it's all driven through the NetBox. Now I'm going to show you one more template, which is actually not part of the NetBox native functionality. So to be 100% clear, only this Ninja section in my demo is the Ninja plugin. These other menus are our other private plugins, and one of them is virtual network. But what we did, first of all, what's virtual network? It's MPLS layer 3 VPN, basically. That kind of service. And we have 2 instances of that service, and they consist of all sorts of details. But now we have a Ninja tab, and we have a template which creates a diagram about this one service instance. And there are all of the details, interfaces, IP addresses, subnets, VLANs, and such. And these are always up to date. Now, if we bring this to the telemetry part, here we have Grafana. It has this flow plugin, which is someone else did this plugin, and it has a feature. It can show SVG files. It can also fetch the SVG files from somewhere else. So we told it to fetch that from the NetBox. And this is the very same template is producing this, what I showed you in the NetBox UI. But now we are reflecting the telemetry data on top of it. So these interfaces, their state is actually up. And here are the number of ISIS neighborships. So if I add a new router, this monitoring view will update almost real time. Same way for the virtual network instances as I showed you. This is just a small showcase. So the only thing here, I have this subinterface status reflected on top of the diagram. And now we have a drop down for other virtual networks as well. But let's do one more funny thing. So I'm gonna add a new virtual network. So this is a service instance which is not yet, it doesn't exist yet. So I will create it. I will attach that to 2 sites. And this is kind of out of scope of this presentation, but I just want to show you. Literally seconds after I have created that service, we have a network diagram for that. It has 2 connections, so the diagram expanded. That's how I wrote the template. But now here, if I refresh the page, I should get a monitoring view for that new service as well. Here we go. So now we have a monitoring view. Right now I haven't pushed the configurations to the network yet, so I will do that so that we will see that those sub-interfaces are going to be up. So this is again not part of the Ninja, but I'm just pushing the configurations. And let's go back to Grafana and see what happens here. Here we go. All of those sub-interfaces are up. So you can reflect all sorts of data on top of this diagram. This is just a small example. So I guess that was my demo, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Awesome. Thank you, Jaakko. Those diagrams never get old, even though I've seen them before. Let's have a look for some questions here. We have a question from Surya Pusapati, who says, how do you compare Ninja to NetBox Topology Views plugin?
Well, NetBox Topology Views plugin is just for layer 2 topology and just for a site. I can write any template representing any data in NetBox using Ninja. So I can even create a visualization for organizations or site and regions or whatever I want to. So this is the Ninja is more like a Swiss Army knife. You can do whatever you want to with it.
Thanks for that. I'm scanning down a little bit. Glenn Tracy asks, can you output to Visio?
No, you can get the draw.io file, and I guess you can have some export from draw.io to Visio. I just left that Visio life behind 2 years ago, and haven't looked back.
Nice. Actually, I'm just scanning down a little bit, and I see that Liza put in here exactly the same suggestion. So take the draw.io format and then convert it to Visio. All right, one more question from the inimitable Mr. Chris Russell. Does the plugin support NetBox's Ginger filters configuration parameter, allowing custom filters?
Not at the moment.
Okay, that's a negative, Chris. If you've got any more questions for Jaakko, please drop them in. We can do more questions at the end. But for now, I'm just going to say, Jaakko, thank you very much for that. And we will, of course, share all of this out, including links after the call. Up next, we have Meneer van Os. Are you ready, Peter?
I'm ready. Yeah.
Good. All right. Take it away.
I'm always surprised how good your Dutch still is. So, do you guys see my window? Is the screen visible?
Yes.
Yes, perfect. So I'm Peter. I'm from the NetPicker team. And what we have been working on is actually a way to manage your backups and automation from NetBox. And good to know, we are a company, but the product is actually free without any limitations for the backup and automation part. So anybody in this call can just download it, install it, and everything I will show today is actually what you can do yourself as well at the end of the webinar. So to start with, we have a plugin. And what the plugin will do is it will directly communicate with the system. So when you have the system set up, which you can spin it up in Docker or download the OVA, you specify the URL, you specify your tenant, and you create an API key, what you put in here. The moment that's in here, we list the devices we know inside NetPicker. Now, what's good to know is that we have this philosophy, which we once made actually with Mark as well, where you have NetBox at the top, and then below that you have like NetPicker, which will kind of use everything inside NetBox for its own logic as well. So we can actually just synchronize all your devices from NetBox automatically to NetPicker, and the moment they're in, it will start making backups, and you can start actually use the automation. But the idea is that you can actually work from one tool, so from NetBox directly, and therefore we now release this plugin. It's the first version, so if you have any feedback, wishes, or what's on, contact us and we will add it for you. So what you see here is the list of devices NetPicker knows, and when there is a match with the NetBox device, and don't get me wrong, this is our sandbox environment, so there is a bit of strange data in it sometimes, but you will see the hyperlink. So to make the relation that you can actually go and visit the device and see how it's configured. When you actually visit the device, you see that it adds 2 tabs. So I'm going to start with the backups. So you click on the backup tab. It will do an API call to NetPicker, and it actually gets the latest backups. Now here you can download it directly. You just get a file, you can open it in some kind of editor or put it back on the device. If something went wrong, which is also nice to see, you can also directly see it here. But you can also click on it, and that you actually get the view directly inside NetBox. So this is just an easy way for you to manage your backups from NetBox without having them being stored in NetBox, because I think that's an important thing to mention, is that NetPicker has an option where you can configure Git and remote Git. So everything is file-based. So the moment we create a backup, we can actually store it in your remote Git. So if you have a network failure once, or maybe a ransomware attack, it's nice to know if you have a cloud-based Git that all your backups are still there, so that you can easily restore the company network and so on. So that's just a side note. And then you can directly access them from here. And there is a change history part as well. So you can see per backup what was the diff with the time before, and it shows it you here directly in NetBox actually. And let me see when I click on it. When you click on it, it opens the NetPicker view, where you get it with a little bit different styling, because we tried in the plugin to not change the NetBox styling that much. So we try to be compliant with the NetBox styling, but if you want a different styling or different view, you can actually just click on it and then it opens the NetPicker view. So that's it for backups. Well, what's still good to know about the backup part is as well that when you do an automation job, it will automatically create a backup as well. So for every change in your network, you have a backup. There is a way to configure NetPicker as a syslog server. So if there is a changed event somewhere in your network, so somebody made a change on the CLI, creates an event, events may be sent to your correlation server, which can then inform NetPicker as well, like, hey, there was a change on this device, please make a backup. As same, there's API support and all the basics. Another little feature, it sounds like a little feature, but it's actually quite powerful, is that you can search easily from NetBox over those backups as well. So if I would search here now for, let's say, NTP, it goes over all the backups and it shows me here the lines that matched in your backup, and you have them nicely aligned here in your NetBox environment. So you can quickly search maybe for, I don't know, configuration drift or just something in your network. And then in NetBox, you can create some kind of automation to correct it. Next step. So we have the backups, we can search over the backups, we can diff the backups, all from NetBox now. And then the next part we create is actually that we can start doing some simple automation, because there is already a lot possible in NetBox. You can create your own Python scripts, you can hook them, you can create your own plugin, you can use the webhooks. We try to make something simple. So for new engineers who are just maybe using NetBox for the first time and want to do some automation and they don't really know yet how everything works, we try to really simplify the automation process. So what we can do, we can actually create a new automation job. We can give it a name. One little side mark, we can't use spaces here because it's actually being stored as a file. So keep in mind when you make something here, don't use spaces. And I'm going to call it configure NTP server. Now here you can say for which platforms your automation job is. So if it's for, let's say, Arista and iOS have the same syntax, sort of say, then you can say, well, I do iOS and I do the Arista one. You select it in here and then it's there. And then here you can now fill in something we call basic commands. So you can literally type what you would normally type on the CLI. So let's say if you want to configure a VLAN, you could do VLAN 9 name test. But you can also turn this into a variable by using those brackets. And then you can do it like this. And the moment you execute the job, it will come with a pop-up like, hey, what VLAN number do you want to configure? But for my example, we're going to configure NTP. So NTP server and then an NTP variable. And I click on create. So now it actually, via the API, configures this job in NetPicker. But you can access it and execute it directly from NetBox. So here now it says, okay, it's created. What's nice, which I want to show you quickly, is that the automation job we just created, this one, is under the hood actually Python. So we have in NetPicker an option to create like a simple rule, but it turns it automatically into Python code. So what we just created is actually a Python file. So if you want to continue on it and make it more advanced, it's possible as well. We just can't do it yet from the NetBox GUI. That will come in a later release. Just a side note. So we created it and we do now execute. So and now I can select here a device. Well, I have only one iOS device with an IP in this NetBox lab, so that's why there's only one. And I can now give the NTP server here. So let's do something like this. I don't know, something random. And say random commands. So then it shows, okay, this is what we're going to configure on the device. And then we do execute now. And now the job is actually created. So we have logs here where we can see that the status is pending. And when we open it, this is something you can ignore. It's debugging information. Here you see the Python code, which is created from the job, which is going to execute. And here you see actually the response from the device, well, how it configured it. So it actually just configured the NTP server and it stopped. And here the job is success. Now the job is executed, the change is made on the network, and now actually the system is making the backup. So the logging you see here is actually not the final logging, because yeah, as you see here, making the backup and then doing a diff over the backup takes a bit of time. So keep in mind when you don't see the diff yet, wait a minute, click on refresh, and then you will see it as well. And then it shows you like, hey, there was a diff, there is a new NTP server. And let's go back to the config search. If I search now for this new IP, yeah, oh, that's at the 7. Yeah, it pops up. So it's actually now configured in the network. And all this is being logged as well. So you can see here, like there is an overview of the automation log where you can see precisely which user executed which job. So you can see per colleague, like, hey, who made what change? Was the change successful? You can click on it, you get all the extra information, the details, and so on. That's it in a nutshell, so to say.
Awesome demo, Peter. Well done.
Thank you.
A couple of questions came in. Eliza asks, can parts of the backup be scrubbed? For example, credentials.
Yeah, it can. I just don't know how. I think it's written on our wiki somewhere. So there are certain filters which you can apply, because for example here it also detects less configuration change, but also like size change. So some parts are actually already being scrubbed because normally there is a timestamp as well. So every time you make a backup, there would be a diff because of the timestamp. So yeah, that is possible.
Got it.
But
So
I think, sorry, side note.
Yeah.
I think normally most passwords are already encrypted in the configuration unless you did not specify that. Can be wrong, but yeah.
Okay, so go check out the NetBox. Sorry, NetBox is on my brain. NetPicker. We should stop calling things net something. Go check out the NetPicker docs. All right, next question from Mike Sauer. What version of NetPicker is being used here?
Let me see. 2.3.7.
Easy question, easy answer. Good. Roman Safanov asks, can we use automation jobs on the free NetPicker version? And also, can those jobs be scheduled?
Yeah. So NetPicker is, of course, there is a license system as well, but that does not apply on the backups and the automation. Like NetPicker itself also has like a vulnerability option and a compliance option where you can build like network tests and validate the state of your network if it should be configured. That part is paid for, and for that you need a license. So I don't know if I can show it quickly, but not sure if that, yeah. So if you want to see quickly if your device is vulnerable for a CVE, that part is paid. Everything else I just showed you, from the backups to the automation to the job logs, free, totally free, no limitation. Yeah.
Awesome. Plenty to be playing with. And then one last question, another one from Roman. Can we run a webhook after automation job? So basically, can like at the end of an automation job running, can it fire a webhook somewhere?
I don't know if it interacts with the NetBox webhooks. That I have to ask, and else we can actually build that. But NetPicker itself also has webhooks. Here, webhooks. So when I I'm not, yeah, so you can make like Slack messages when a backup is complete or when a certain execution is done. So yes, but you have to check the documentation a bit because it's using Python in the backend. So you get a list of variables back and it explains there a little bit like what you have to use in your webhook to get all the variables. And then based on the action, you can actually have a message when a change happened or a backup happened or something like that. Yeah.
Cool. And then last question that just came in from Glenn Tracy says, is there an up-to-date backup and restore video?
So I think not
Yeah.
of the system, but of a network device then. Honestly, I think it's there. I just don't know. Like we have a YouTube channel. Let me quickly see if I can get that here. So we tried everything we do to put on YouTube as well to give it a bit more visual flair. Before I'm opening somebody else's YouTube. Yeah, I got it. So it's youtube.com and then NetPicker.io, all written next to each other. You can get from the website as well. And here we have actually a workshop we did with Mark in Amsterdam. But if you go to the playlist or through the videos, there are all kinds of videos about how we show certain things, certain flows, including the backup. Yeah, that's for the backup part.
Cool. Thanks, Peter. And then one more question. Oh, Wim already.
Wim already replied.
Wim's already in there. All right.
Yeah. So there is a, maybe that's confusing, but there is a free and a paid. But the free is free for everything, but you get on top of that 10 licensed devices to actually play with the paid features. So you can with the free version also try out the CVEs and testing and compliance. That's only for 10, but everything else is free and unlimited. That's how we try to pay the bills.
Nice. All right. Well, thanks again, Peter. We're going to move to the last part of the call now. If you do have any more questions, drop them down there and we can answer them at the end. So, where is my? Oh, there it is. Good. Okay, so we heard from Jaco and Peter. I'll thank them again at the end. Just to round things up for today, we also want to hear your story. Some of you have been attending for a long time, and you will know that there are all sorts of different stories. Some of them are about products, some of them are about projects, some of them are about just cool things you can do with NetBox. There are no rules, right? If you think it's interesting, there's a very strong chance that other people will find it interesting too. The other thing to point out is that there's a super low bar for joining the game, right? We don't expect fancy slides. You can turn up with a Google Doc if you want. We're just interested in hearing what it is that you've been working on and what you would like to share with the community. We can also help you shape the story. So if you've got something you want to share, but you're not exactly sure how, that's something we can help with too. So if you're interested, we have gaps coming up. This is monthly. So we've got gaps coming up in September, October, and November. Still, I think. You can find me. I'm mcoleman@netboxlabs.com on the emails, or you can also go into the NetDev Slack, find me on LinkedIn. I'm very easy to find. Last but not least, the next call. So the next call, we decided, I think just over the weekend, that it's going to be September 9th. For those of you who have, well, let me say that the other way around. If you want to attend, you can register now. Go, follow the QR code and put your name in. When you're putting your name in to register, I believe there's a checkbox which will allow you to just auto enroll yourself for all future community calls, which a lot of you have already done. If you do that and then you later decide that you don't want to be auto enrolled anymore, you can always switch it off, but it just saves you having to remember every month. I want to say another big thank you to our incredible speakers today, Jaco and Peter. And before I say goodbye, let me have a quick look at the chat. Oh, it's all Wim. Wim's explaining the things. Thank you, Wim. All right, that's all for today. Thank you all for attending, and hopefully see you on September 9th. Bye-bye.
Bye.